What's up? Douchey here from Douchey Lifestyle. I'm about to do a walk around on my own car because I have a lot of new subscribers and I get a lot of questions about what my setup is and what's done to it and what I want to do to it. And I haven't really addressed that in a really long time. So we're going to get to that straight away. As you guys can see, shirt came in. It is a schmedium because I wear schmediums.
Yes!
And I'm not gonna lie, I already made this video once, but the garage door wasn't open and the lighting was shit and the ISO was way too high on the camera, so it turned out like poopy. So I'm gonna try it again. I'll give you a quick little background on the car before we actually get into it. It started its life as a twin turbo 6-speed. It has neither of those things now. It is now powered by a turbo 400 automatic, which has a manual valve body, so you kind of have to shift it 3 gears still, so it's not kind of fully automatic. You kind of have to manual valve body, and it has a big turbo. So as you may notice, this title is probably going to say 800 horsepower Supra just because that's kind of what gets people's attention nowadays and you need to get people's attention. So the car did make 715 horsepower through the automatic at 26 pounds of boost, and we've been running it near 30 pounds of boost, so it likely makes a little bit higher than that. And the turbo 400 takes a lot of power to run it, so the engine definitely makes 800 horsepower by itself. If we took it out and put it on an engine dyno, it would probably make way more than that. So we have a 2JZ no shit. Essentially what that is, it means I have lots of powers, all of the powers, and it's not an LS. It only has 6 cylinders, 3 liters of fuck you. So underneath this pretty valve cover, there are some Brian Crower Stage 3 cams with single springs, and that's about it for engine modifications. So the bottom end is stock. The rings have been gapped a little bit bigger when it was built, but it's factory pistons, factory rods, factory stroke bore, all that good stuff. Beside that, we do have the big Borgwarner SXE 76mm turbo. Essentially, it's just a 76mm wheel inside their big turbo housing frame, so it looks a lot bigger than it actually is because 76mm aren't really that big. In front of it, you can see we have this mesh. It's a turbo guard. And what it does is it actually takes round air from the atmosphere and then it puts it through these little squares and it makes square air. And the turbo really likes square air because the blades are kind of squared on the edges. And it's just a lot more efficient if you put square air into square blades.
Got her.
Connected to that, we have a 4-port solenoid that runs to 2 tile wastegates. And there's one here and one down below that you actually can't see. They both have about 10-pound springs in them, I believe. So 10 pounds is the lowest base pressure we can run. Behind that is probably the coolest hood exit exhaust ever. First of all, it's a teardrop, so it actually looks awesome. But then both wastegates are actually integrated into the teardrop. So as you can see, they come out the tip of the teardrop there. And that's just some beautiful fabrication work by Roy at AFR AutoWorks. We do have a line lock stuffed in this side, so essentially what that does is you put your foot on the brake, you activate the line lock, and it will lock the front wheels for you, so you can do a burnout with the rear wheels. In front of here, we have the ETS 5-inch intercooler. It's a really nice unit because it actually, the end tanks go all the way to the edge of the bumper, so the intercooler takes up the whole bumper. On this side, we do have a 75-shot Zex kit. Now, this nitrous kit, however, it would be awesome to spray the engine the whole entire pass. I still have a lot left in this turbo that I'm not using, so this actually shuts off before I leave the line. Essentially what it does is it just helps get the car up on the trans brake, and I'll talk about that a little later, about how the functionality of a trans brake works. But essentially, yeah, it's just for spooling that big turbo to get it up on the trans brake because the converter is a little too tight. I'm making this video mid tearing the car apart, as you can see. So I wanted to do this before I actually did the winter super build, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to title that series yet, but the engine is coming out, the trans is coming out. Essentially the car is going to be stripped down to bare nothing on the inside and look a lot like the Mach for a little bit, and the rear end's coming out, all that good stuff. Actually, we'll move to the back of the car. So a lot of the interior bits are right here on the floor, the dash, the cluster, some of the center console stuff. The heater core, which has to be thrown out, and then stuff. We have a chute on the car. The cable's just not ran because we didn't really need it. And it's actually cool because it's AFR engraved. Gotta have boosted lifestyle sticker. Underneath the car. So one thing we didn't struggle with, which I thought we were gonna have a problem with, was wow, that was really weird. Which we didn't really have a problem with was the rear suspension, the diff, and the bushings. Like everything back here is stock. The rear suspension is like the factory struts from 1996, I guess, when I got the car. And then underneath that is a factory diff, bushings, and it kind of just worked. The car squatted, and it probably could have got out of the 60 foot a bit faster if it was a bit stiffer suspension. But I was cutting consistent low 1.5 60 foots on a soft launch without even turning it up. In the tank, we have 3 Walbro 450s up to the front, ID 2000s through a powerhouse rail. So it's a -10 feed into the ID 2000, then a -6 return. And then there's 3 Walbro 450s in the tank, and it's on E98 fuel. All right, let's go inside the car. I'm going to show you a little bit about the interior. So obviously there's no interior in the car right now. We were midway stripping it apart when I decided that I probably should document this for research purposes. Anyways, the cage and everything is still in here. And I did manage to keep all my factory interior. Okay, you'll notice I have some ricer buttons on my steering wheel. So with an automatic transmission and a drag racing application, you can actually get a trans brake. And what a trans brake does is it locks first and reverse gears. So the car can't go anywhere. So it just spins the torque converter up. It actually makes a lot of heat. But that's what gives you your load on your engine to build the boost and the RPMs that you need to launch the car hard. First one's trans brake, the other one is bump box. So if you'll notice, when you're drag racing, you have 2 lights that you have to stage in on. So you'll notice a lot of turbo cars will stage in on the first one, they'll get up in boost, and then they'll bump into the second one, because after you bump into the second one, the following lights come really fast and you don't have time to build boost. What you're gonna do is you're gonna roll into that first light and you're gonna stop and you're gonna press this button. And it's gonna lock first and reverse gears, and then you're gonna floor the car and get it up into boost. And then when you're into the power, you're gonna press the second button. And that temporarily interrupts your trans brake. And it's called a bump box. And essentially, it's gonna bump you forward into that second light while being under full power. So you're ready to leave whenever. So trans brake, when you bump in, and then once the lights come down, you let go of the trans brake, car does wheelies, and you do celebrations and masturbate and stuff like that. Now after that we have our, this is a B&M quick shifter. I don't really like it, but right now it's in park. That's reverse. That's first gear, second gear, third gear. Pretty much it. I don't like it. It's annoying, but it fit the factory boot, and when I was adamant on keeping stock interior, it was really helpful. Oh yeah, the engine's powered by a plug-and-play Link ECU. That's kind of just sitting over there for now. That's kind of my build. It's a very straightforward budget build. It's got stock suspension, stock rear end. It had stock transmission for a really long time and just a single turbo. Like the first version of this as a drag car, it was just on slicks with stock transmission, stock rear end, stock axles, stock whatever, with just a small tiny turbo, a set of fuel injectors and a fuel pump and a tune. And it went 10.6 at 132. And now we're struggling to get past 10.0. So the car has been 10.01, which is a real big disappointing pain in my ass, at 145 miles an hour with a 177 60 foot. And the car's been consistently doing low 1.5 60 foots without even adding power into it off the line. So the 9-second passes there, we just couldn't put it together. We had nitrous issues, and then we had alternator issues. So it's the end of the season now. It's pretty much winter. I'm surprised there's not snow on the ground. Make sure you stick around for the winter build. We'll come out swinging next year, I promise, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And do me a favor and go down, and if you made it this far anyways, beside that subscribe button, there's that little bell. Hit the bell. It just gives you the notification. I guess douchebag out. Peace easy, guys.